I'd like to call the meeting to order. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jeff Jones, a new moderator. I'm going to start by saying this is my summer suit for the meetings for the summer, not the fall and the spring. So just the summer garb. I believe there's a quorum, so we can start the meeting. I'd like to announce that we have 4 volunteers for tellers. We have Vicky Cataldo, Liz Guerin, Terry Mansfield, and Sue Parody. They'll be our tellers, thanking them for volunteering if we need them. At this time, I'll take a motion to waive the reading of the warrant. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. A couple minor announcements. I'll start with just the town is updating their website. I've talked to Brennan about that and Lisa. That should be up and running on November 1st, so it's all going to be revamped. So tune in November 1st, a whole new website, a little more interactive, and I think it's going to look really nice. Something new this year, we all got red cards. Everyone sitting down that needs to vote and register should have a card. If you don't have a card, you're not going to be able to vote. Is that clear? Everyone sitting here that's going to vote. We'll also use this for if and when we need a secret ballot. Going forward, that's kind of how we're going to handle a secret ballot. So I won't go into the procedure for a secret ballot right now until we may need one. I'm not thinking we're going to need one for tonight, but if we do, I'll go into the details for that. A couple procedural things. If you're going to make a motion, you need to come to the mic, read the motion, and present it to me so I have it for the record. You can speak for 5 minutes twice on any one article. We're going to stick to that pretty good. There are a few individuals that are on the floor that are not residents that will have the opportunity to speak to a couple, perhaps. We've got Brendan Zabricki, the town administrator. We have Greg Corbo, who is legal counsel. We have Pam Thorne, the clerk. We also have Erin Kirchner, who in the Board of Health is right there. She's sitting on the floor. She's in the Board of Health, but she is not a resident, but she's sitting there as a representative of the Board of Health. And we have Pete Silva here, over here. If we could all stand and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could you stay standing? And if you could introduce yourself if you don't know the person next to you, shake hands, get to know somebody. If you could all, could you all stay standing for one more moment, please? I'd just like to take a moment and do a moment of silence for John McCain. Not a political thing, I just think he was quite a servant to the country, and I just think if we take a moment of silence for him. Thank you. Okay, now we'll get to the articles. I'm not going to start with Article 1. We have a couple of minor adjustments. We'd like to move them around, just 2 articles.
Testing? Nope. Now it is. Yeah. I, Andrew Spinney, move that Article 4 and 11 be moved in front of Article 1.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. We'll take Article 2. Article 4, I'm sorry.
I, Andrew Spinney, move that Article 4 be indefinitely postponed.
All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.
I, Andrew Spinney, move that Article 11 be indefinitely postponed.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Now you have to postpone it. Postpone 11. Did you? You have to do that one too, yeah.
Who had 11? No, I didn't.
11. Just need to move this, Andrew. There's two of them. 11. Didn't we just move it?
Oh, okay. So I'm postponing Article 11 indefinitely, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I did that.
Sorry. I thought you had to do which one. Did you get the first two all at once? Okay, well, now we'll go back to Article 1. Lisa O'Donnell.
Thank you. I, Lisa O'Donnell, move that the town vote to transfer from the sale of real estate fund to the sum of $163,000 to retain the services of an owner's project manager, OPM, to assist the town with the development and comparison of various options for future renovation and/or replacement of the town's existing public safety building, either at the existing site or at some other site, and either as a combined facility on one site or as separate police and fire station facilities on separate sites, and further to assist the town with the procurement of architectural, engineering, construction, and related services as necessary for the assessment of options and the ultimate design, project oversight, and construction of the chosen option, and further to provide the town with additional OPM services during the development and implementation of any chosen option.
Is there a second? Discussion. Just before you start, Lisa, before you start that, this is a financial article. I'm just going to question whether the Finance Committee supports this article. Do you support all the financial articles? The Finance Committee support all of the financial articles? Thank you. Lisa?
You want to move it? So this article will fund an owner's project manager, which is a firm called NV5 that the Town Building Committee in joint meeting with the selectmen selected from 5 applicants and 3 that we interviewed. Gentlemen from NV5 are here tonight to help answer any questions and to outline their responsibilities to the town moving forward. This article is the main reason for the meeting tonight. Backing out of May 2019 annual town meeting, we want to be able to present another solution for public safety, fire, and police stations. To do that, we need to have professionals on board, and what we're hoping is that by bringing NV5 on this evening, in the next several weeks leading up to Fall Town meeting in October, we'll be able to use their services to help us select an architectural firm. The reason that it's important to have their assistance with an architectural firm is because of the number of sites and options that we're going to still be considering, which include the existing site, the John Wise Avenue parcel, and the Memorial Park parcel. Building on those different sites would require a different skill set, so we need to be able to hire an architect that's going to be able to help us. Will be able to help us with all of those different options. So that's the reason to have this meeting tonight, to bring NB5 on board, hopefully, and they will help us for Fall Town meeting propose an architect, and then over the time between Fall Town meeting and May annual town meeting, we'll be able to develop with public forums and whatever input we can solicit in that time period, a proposal to bring to May town meeting. I think that is about it. Their proposal for $163,000 works out. There's a couple of categories. Their base contract fee is $105,800, and then there are additional services included in the $163,000, which include $20,000 worth of estimating $2,600 for background review of any sites, $14,000 for actual subsurface exploration. If we start to look at the existing site where we have known fuel oil contamination, we would need to determine the extent of that. And then an additional $20,000 allowance that would allow us to go back and revisit the RFP that was put out earlier, looking for available parcels of land in town. We advertised that RFP. We received one response, but it didn't meet the criteria. So the exercise with NV5 would be to see if we want to revisit that or not. So that's a $20,000 allowance there. So obviously, if any of these services aren't used, the money isn't spent. Do we want to have NV5 come up? Are there questions about this? Because the gentlemen from NV5 are here. If someone wants better clarification exactly what an owner's project manager does. An owner's project manager is a requirement for any state or any municipal project that exceeds $1.5 million. These people would work on behalf of the town, representing us with our architect and the builder.
Sure.
Betsy Ridge Madsen, Sauganese Road, Essex. Last May, when we talked about all of this, it seemed like the arguments were very much against John Wise and against Memorial, that everybody wanted, the arguments at least were for something that was central. It seems to me that going back to looking at those sites is counterproductive. I think central is what the people voted for or talked about, and I'm wondering why we have to reconsider those.
In May, we didn't take votes on anything besides the village option, and there's a lot of people with a lot of different opinions, and some people favor the existing site. That is far and away the most expensive thing we can conceivably do. Some people favor the John Wise site. Some people favor the Memorial Park site. There's a whole, pretty much for as many people in town, that many opinions right now. We need to work through all of the scenarios that are available to us and understand the ramifications and understand the costs, and that's what we're embarking on now. And we can't at this point eliminate any possibilities because there are enough people who favor any of the given options that we need to work through this in a systematic manner. And at the end of the process, we also need to be able to present something that's fiscally responsible to the town. So we keep everything on the table right now. We're back to square one, and we're starting there, and we're going to look at them all.
Any other discussion? Ed?
Ed Neal, 15 Western Ave. I see that Article 4 was postponed, and while I'm not sad that Article 4 was postponed about the temporary jail cells, I think that indefinitely postponing it disenfranchises us from a discussion that needs to be had. The article that was on the warrant in May was about building a new fire station, and then we were going to deal with the police situation later. And it was inferred that the entire existing fire department building would be converted into use by the police department. And part of that, I understood, was that we were going to build jail cells, and we were going to expand the role that our police department has right now in prisoner management. I don't believe that it's a happenstance or an oversight that the town of Essex has never had a jail lockup. We've always farmed that out to either Gloucester, Manchester, or now Middleton. And it's my understanding that there's no regulation or rule that would prevent us from continuing to do so. And so it would be my hope that as part of this evaluation, I'm sure that the group that's been selected is competent to draw us a picture of a complete police station with, okay, thanks, that's okay. I could probably do it without the mic, actually. I'm sure that this consulting firm is competent to draw us a picture of a police station, but I think that the discussion needs to be had internally within the town's management and the vision of what we're building and how much of an expansion of our existing processes should be evaluated and including in that recommendation. And I think it behooves the selectmen to make certain that that happens, because I think that that's a question that could influence people to vote against a public safety building proposal if they feel that this is going to create a dramatic expansion in our ongoing expenses of our public safety services. So I would hope that that would be included and that we can maybe have some hearings about whether or not that's necessary at some point. Thank you.
Lisa?
Thanks, Ed. Yes, that will be part of the discussion as we move forward with the projects. We're going to be looking at the facilities that are needed for both departments and working from that basis.
Any other discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor of Article 1? Aye. Opposed? Majority vote, it passes. Article 2.
I, Peter Fippen, move that Article 2 be indefinitely postponed.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Lisa, Article 3.
I, Lisa O'Donnell, move that the town transfer from the Building Capital Improvements Fund the sum of $7,000 for the repair of the roof at the existing fire and police headquarters building at 24 Martin Street, including the cost of any design, engineering, construction, installation, and/or related services and everything incidental and related thereto.
Is there a second? Second. This article is a 2/3 vote where we're taking money out of a fund that we put money into for capital improvements.
The roof leaks, and no matter what we do, no one's going anywhere for 2 to 3 years, so we need to fix it.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 5.
I, Andrew Spinney, move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $11,600 from the van driver wages line item in the fiscal 2019 Council on Aging budget to the van driver expenses line item in the fiscal year 2019 Council on Aging budget to contract for senior citizen transportation services.
Is there a second? Second. Motion's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor of Article 5? Aye. All those opposed? Passes, that's 2/3. That is a majority vote. Article 6. Andrew Spinney.
Look at the sea of people. I did. Don't shoot the messenger. I, Andrew Spinney, move that the town vote to amend Section 7-3.1 of the Town General Bylaws, pig and piggeries permit required, as shown under Article 6 in the warrant.
Is there a second? Discussion?
Everybody knows why this is here and that it's about Charlie the pig. Charlie is a pet, and it's an amendment to be able to keep Charlie in town borders without calling him a piggery. And that's all I've got to say about it.
Any other discussion? Sure, John, come on up.
John Guerin. In all seriousness, you can change the article for one pig this time, but if I decide to have a pet pig, and I decide at the end of the year, Christmas time, I'm not going to keep the pet pig and I'm going to have bacon instead, does that make him a pet, or does it make me a piggery? If I only have one pig under 275 pounds. And so, can we all have pigs in the backyard? It used to happen here more often than you think, where people would have a cow, get the milk for a year, and then the next thing Daisy was gone. So, that's a legitimate question, I hope. When is a pig not a pet?
Any other discussion? Sure, come on up. If you want to talk about, address a motion, please just come up. You don't have to raise your hand, you can come up, and then we'll recognize you when you get up to the mic.
Hi, everybody. Most of you know me. I'm Pam Stone, the Animal Health Inspector. Can you hear me now? I'm afraid of this microphone. Can you hear me now? This is my four-season outfit. The discussion about the pig wasn't really in the beginning about the actual pig or having the pig as a pet. Nobody wants to see Charlie taken away from Molly. The discussion was about the pig being too close to a waterway. Whether you have one pig or 100 pigs, too close to a waterway is still too close to a waterway. Pigs do carry zoonotic diseases that people can get, most commonly the flu. So, you know, to change a regulation to have one pig as a pet is fine. I'm pro-livestock. Anybody here that I inspect their barn knows I'm all for the animals and for people having pigs and livestock in their backyards. But we have to consider the waterway and just making it a public safety thing with the water. That was the main issue all along, not really about the pig or the size of the pig. So we just have to come to a mutual agreement that Charlie is not so close to the waterway. That's all. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Ed?
Mr. Moderator, I move that Article 6 be amended by eliminating the proposed fourth paragraph in its entirety and replacing it with the following. The provisions of 7.3 of the town's general bylaws shall not apply to the keeping of one pig if the pig is kept as a household pet on residential premises and the pig weighs less than 275 pounds. Keeping of said pig shall be regulated by regulations adopted by the Board of Health adequate to protect the public water supply and prevent the creation of a nuisance.
Motion, the amendment to the original has been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Can I talk?
Yeah.
Okay, thank
It's your
you.
motion
Thank you.
to amend.
This-
Could be this one. I'll move away.
I can just do it here. This bylaw has been in place for so long, I think that the Board of Selectmen, you can? Okay.
No, I think this one, well, we switched them.
This is the good one.
It was just,
His is the one popping up there.
Oh,
Yours is the good one.
you get me confused. Okay, I believe that this bylaw has been in place since back when the Board of Selectmen were the Board of Health, and it has served us well. I don't think there's any confusion about pigs in the town of Essex based on this bylaw. If you have a house and you can meet the standard in this bylaw as far as the distance from the street, distance from the stream, comply with the regulations about feeding of garbage and handling garbage, transporting garbage, handling of manure, then you are allowed to have up to 4 pigs. That's the limit in the town, 4 pigs. There is no piggeries allowed. You can have 4 pigs for the use of your family. Piggeries are prohibited, and that's more than 4 pigs. And a piggery is a commercial enterprise where you raise pigs to sell meat. So I was on the Board of Health for 3 years, I was on the Board of Selectmen for 3 years, and we didn't have one pig complaint. And I don't remember having a pig complaint, and I'm unaware of reading anywhere of a pig complaint. So this bylaw was good for us. And now, to avoid throwing all caution to the wind, I propose this amendment. And if you read carefully the amendment that was on the warrant, it states that nothing in 7.3 would prevent the Board of Health from exercising its independent authority to allow pigs, any number of pigs, or piggeries in Essex. So basically, that would trump the town's bylaw that's been in place all this time. And the Board of Health could simply hold a public hearing and approve a piggery of 100 pigs someplace and adopt regulations. So I believe that this amendment would allow expeditiously, hopefully, the Board of Health would have proposed regulations, have a public hearing, and deal with the issue that Pam and I and the Water Department are concerned about in relation to this particular pig, and other regulations about fencing in, we have problems with dogs because they're not on leashes, right? I don't know of any 275-pound dog in Essex. And so I think that if there's rules and regulations about pigs, then it has to be the pig is on a run, the pig is fenced in with adequate fencing. There needs to be regulations adopted about that. And that's all that this amendment does, is suggest that that's what the Board of Health will do, but it won't allow them to authorize a full-blown piggery with no regulations. And if this passed tonight without this, there's no rules. It just says that, because right now the Board of Health regulations about swine is that it refers to the existing town bylaw that says you can only have 4 pigs and it has to be 250 feet from a water supply source. So please support this amendment. I think it's reasonable and it'll allow Charlie to stay.
So can I just get a clarification, Ed? You're eliminating from nothing in section 7-3 in the original article, is that what you're amending?
The fourth paragraph, which was proposed,
Yep,
proposed amendment, and all I changed was the second sentence in that paragraph.
you took that right.
I used the first paragraph,
Correct.
and then I used the second paragraph. Where it says provide, then my new sentence starts, right? Okay, but nothing in section, that's, no, that's gone. That's why I said, only because
Technical, it's a legal thing that's important to how it gets voted. Town council has a point that he doesn't want to have the amendment go if it's going to somehow weaken the statutory authority of the health. The way it's written, they have to straighten it out.
Ed, you want to continue on your discussion?
Attorney Corbo has raised the concern that eliminating the paragraph, the sentence that says nothing in this article is intended to infringe upon the authority, statutory authority of the Board of Health to regulate pigs, any number of pigs or piggeries is, that's the language I wanted to get rid of. I don't think that we need to restate in this amendment or in the bylaw what the independent authority of the Board of Health is. And in fact, my amendment suggests that the Board of Health should adopt regulations under their authority to deal with this one pig scenario. I'm concerned that if we leave the language in the last sentence in the paragraph, that it could be misinterpreted that it's okay to keep and regulate any number of pigs under the Board of Health's authority. And it would trump your ability as a town meeting to say, no, that's not what we want in our town. So I am standing by. I understand the concerns that the attorney has raised, but I'm asking you to support my amendment. The worst thing that's going to happen is his concern is the Attorney General will say, you can't have this language, and maybe in October we'll revisit the issue. But I think it would be reasonable to keep it. Thank you.
Lisa?
I'm going to ask Greg Corbo to speak to this, just to clarify it.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Moderator. So the last clause of the proposed bylaw, as suggested by the Board of Selectmen, is intended to provide notice that, or acknowledgement that the Board of Health has independent statutory authority to regulate animals and public nuisances. And what I've seen in both court cases and review by the Attorney General is that there's a line between what town meeting has the authority to do and what boards and commissions who have statutory authority, what they're authorized to do. And they can't cross with each other. So the Board of Health has independent statutory authority, and town meeting is not authorized to direct the Board of Health how to exercise that independent authority. Now, if there's a bylaw that says there's a limit on the number of pigs at 4, the Board of Health couldn't enact a regulation that said, well, we're going to go to 5, because then the more stringent is always going to apply. But the Board of Health has independent authority separate from town meeting to say, these are the conditions that we want to impose upon the keeping of pigs. And town meeting doesn't get to say, Board of Health, we're going to limit you to only considering certain types of regulations. So what this bylaw is this is a general bylaw of the town that says that a Board of Selectmen's permit is required for the keeping of pigs. With the amendment, it would say a Board of Selectmen's permit is not required to keep 1 pig. However, you're required to comply with whatever the Board of Health wants to do. The proposed amendment would impose an obligation on the Board of Health to enact regulations. And in my opinion, that's beyond the authority of town meeting to do. And so my recommendation would be to stick with the original wording, which preserves both the authority of town meeting to restrict and regulate the number of pigs, but also the authority of the Board of Health to regulate nuisances and the keeping of animals. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the amendment? John?
Perhaps as a compromise to both and to get rid of my pet issue, I'd like to amend the amendment by deleting Ed's comments and takes the second paragraph that we're adding, or the fourth paragraph that we're adding, and delete in the second line, as a household pet, which then would read 1 pig if the pig is kept on residential premises, and delete in the last line any number. And what that says, it doesn't restrict the Board of Health authority to regulate the keeping of pigs and piggeries in the town of Essex, and doesn't expand on the any number item. I think this is a compromise, and might, if he's willing to withdraw that, you get rid of the word any number, Ed? No? Okay.
I'll need that in writing.
I'll put it in writing.
Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
Is there a second? I need that in writing, John?
Yep.
I'm not sure what you're changing. Any discussion on that? Second amendment.
Kevin Cook, Martin Street. What's preventing the Board of Selectmen from issuing a permit to the pig currently? And if it is a regulation by the Board of Health that requires no pigs be kept within 250 feet of a waterway, if the more stringent regulation applies, notwithstanding what the bylaw says, isn't this a nullity? Can't there not be a pig within 250 feet?
Brendan?
So the question has to do with why hypothetically, if there's a pig in town, why that pig can't just exist under the conditions in place today. And it is because in that situation, or in some other situation, if you don't meet the dimensional requirements, the bylaw is very stringent, and there's no way to get an outright variance of those provisions. And so this proposal would actually carve out something for a different type of situation. Does that help answer your question? This proposal actually takes those standards and says they do not apply to this particular new situation.
So anybody within 250 feet of the waterway can have a pig?
That would be, if the town votes on this, it's going to open up kind of a new category, and if numerous people would like to partake of that, then it is theoretically possible, yes.
Don't you then have two bylaws that are directly conflicting with one another? One Board of Health bylaw saying you can't have a pig within 250 feet of a waterway, and then an exemption saying that anybody can have a pig no matter where it is?
This is actually an so the question is, wouldn't this, go ahead, yeah, Greg's going to help.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Moderator. So the way that the bylaw reads right now is, in order to keep any number of pigs, you have to get a permit from the Board of Selectmen, and you have to meet certain dimensional and setback requirements, including setbacks from a waterway. What this bylaw would do would be to relax those requirements if you only have 1 pig. So you would no longer need the permit, and you would no longer need to meet those dimensional and setback requirements. That being said, there would be nothing that would to prevent the Board of Health, in my opinion, from enacting a regulation that is more stringent than the bylaw. They're not necessarily in conflict with each other. It's just that one is more stringent than the other, and that's the reason why each of these bodies has its own separate jurisdiction and its own role to play here. So this would take away one regulatory requirement, but it's not to say that others might not be imposed.
John? Did you want to withdraw your amendment?
I'll withdraw my amendment until Ed's is heard, and then I probably will bring it back up if he loses.
So we're back to the first amendment to the main motion from Ed Neal. Any other discussion on the first amendment to the main motion? Seeing none. All those in favor of the amendment? Aye. All those opposed? No. The amendment fails. Any other discussion on the main motion?
I'd like to submit the motion I just made.
Would you try and summarize that for us, please?
Again, I'd be taking the same motion that the town has and just deleting in the second line as a household pet and deleting in the fourth line any number. Again, for the reasons I just stated. So a motion made by myself, the provisions of Section 7-3 of the town's general bylaws shall not apply to the keeping of one pig if the pig is kept on residential premises and the pig weighs less than 275 pounds, provided, however, that the owner or keeper shall comply with any requirements established by the Board of Health. Nothing in Section 7-3 is intended to limit or restrict the authority of the Board of Health to exercise its independent authority to regulate the keeping of pigs and piggeries in the town of Essex.
Is there a second to that? Any more discussion on the amendment?
Greg is okay with that.
Any other discussion on that? Basically, it took out as a household pet and left in the residential premises, and now at the bottom, it took out any number. That were the two changes he made to the original motion. Any more discussion on the amendment proposed by John? All those in favor of the amendment? Aye. Opposed? It passes on the amendment. Now, we need to vote on the main motion as amended. Any discussion on the main motion as amended? Nope. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Majority passes. Article 7.
I,
Yeah.
Stacy
Sorry, go ahead.
I, Stacy Capitasto, move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $14,500 for repairs and renovations, furnishings and equipment for the Centennial Grove Cottage and its adjacent garage, including the cost of any design, engineering, construction, installation, and/or related services and everything incidental and related thereto. Said funds shall be expended by the Board of Selectmen.
Is there a second? Discussion. No discussion? All those in favor of Article 7? Aye. Opposed? Passes. Mr. Fippen.
Article 8.
Article 8.
I, Peter Fippen, move that the town vote to amend the vote taken under Article 6 of the May 7th, 2018 annual town meeting by adding a VoIP telephone expense line in the police department budget for fiscal year 2019, and to transfer the sum of $4,750 from free cash to this new VoIP telephone line item.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion?
This is to upgrade the phone system to an internet service, which is more efficient and more effective, and the current standard phone system is failing.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 8? Opposed? Passes. Article 9, Mr. Doucette.
I motion we buy a sound system before next year's.
Second, yeah.
All right. I, Daniel Doucette, move that the town vote to transfer from free cash a sum of $6,000 to replace the fire department's base station transmitter, including all costs in removing and disposing of the old transmitter, if necessary, and installing the new one.
I think that was a different amount.
16,000?
I think you said 6, that's okay.
Oh, 16,000. 16. Sorry. Glad somebody's paying attention.
Is there a second to that?
We'll be replacing our primary radio transmitter, which is on the cell tower on 15 Tree Hill. It was originally bought in 1996, so it's going on 22 years old. It's not supported anymore by Motorola, and we can't get it repaired if something happens to it. So it's just time to replace the equipment.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of Article 9? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? What's that? Article 10? Mr. Rulo.
Paul Rouleau, DPW Board. I, Paul Rouleau, move that the town vote to transfer from sewer free cash the total sum of $38,150, with the sum of $19,150 to be added to the Finance Committee's reserve fund for fiscal year 2019, and with the sum of $19,000 to be added to the wastewater department sewer maintenance line item for fiscal year 2019.
Is there a second? Discussion.
There was a sewer force main break in this past spring in front of the church, and the first $19,000 of that is for the sewer department to pay back the finance committee for the cost of the construction to make that repair. And the second $19,000 is for a study that we're going to do to try to figure out what exactly caused the failure of that sewer force main.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of Article 10? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Now I'll recognize that motion. There's a second to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.